Astronimo. Is it going to be a win or a bin? Let's have a quick read through of the description on Steam. Astronimo is a construction platform puzzler that takes you and your friends out of this world into a vast solar system, providing them with expansive creation tools to stretch the bounds of imagination. So this is an early access physics-based platformer where you get to build all sorts of vehicles and contraptions to help get you through the levels. They range from motor-powered cars, trucks, depending on whatever you like to build, make them look exactly how you like, to tall ladders, moving cranes, those sort of things. It's up to 4 players, so if you have people that you know, then by all means get them involved. You can do remote play on Steam, which is actually what I tried with a friend, just to get a handle of the multiplayer aspect, and I also played single player to get as much of a feel for this as possible. Plenty of in-game options for this, loads of graphic settings. You can change your controls if you're using a keyboard or a controller, though this game does recommend you play with a controller, I must stress. But yeah, you can customize your controls. But yeah, plenty of settings too on top of that as well. I'm going to start with a little bit of an idea on the multiplayer side of things. So we had to use remote play. We eventually got there. We struggled at first to actually allow 2 of us to play on the same map at the same time. So my friend was just playing on his own for a bit, and I was just watching him because he thought he knew best, of course. And he was having a whale of a time. So yeah, I just thought, well, I'll leave him to it. He seems to know what he's doing. Until we figured out how I could include myself in the proceedings as well, which we did eventually work out. And I'll go into why I wasn't able to play initially as a negative a bit later on. Single player is exactly the same, but you just do everything on your own. Even with somebody else with you, it can get a bit clustered. So for example, when we were trying to build a vehicle, you both can't build your own vehicles, you can only build a single vehicle. I get that's how remote play works. You are sharing a screen, of course. You're going to have just to build one vehicle, but you can get in each other's way very easily, and it's a bit annoying unless you're communicating, by which point you might as well just do it on your own because it's not too complicated to put a vehicle or item together. Visually, the game looks okay. I mean, it's never going to win any awards on the graphics front. It's quite a barren landscape overall. The little character you play as, a bit of a strange looking thing, and you can customize it as you unlock things. I gave my character a turban, why not? But yeah, you can do a little bit with that, but I think visually it's on the average side. So some of the things that I like, well, I do actually enjoy some of the designing and building of contraptions and vehicles. You are free to pretty much do what you want, and certainly for what I've played, you're not limited by the amount of things you can use. So there's no money, there's no limited amount of items that you can use, so it's all unlimited so far that I've experienced. So your imagination is really the limit of things here. And you can chop and change, you can delete the thing if it turns out not to work and just start again, which is quite cool. I like it. And you have to think about it. Sometimes it's a very simple case of getting up a high ledge. Sometimes it's a case of needing something powered to get you around a loop-the-loop and those sort of things, really. But it's got a good element of building design. Plenty of different items that you can use. Lots of decorations as well to aesthetically make your vehicle or item look a bit more pleasing too. There is a level editor. I did have a brief look at this, but it's not really my thing, and I've not got the patience to fart ass around with this sort of thing. It looked okay. There was plenty of tools that you could use to design your own level. If you're into all that and you're into your geometrics and all of that jazz, then I think you probably quite enjoy creating your own levels. All different textures and tools that you can use. Most of them are meaningless to me, but there is a feature for that, so perhaps good for some. I did enjoy myself. I enjoyed playing with a friend. I enjoyed playing by myself. And overall, it's not got that much longevity. It's £11, I think, at the moment. And I think its full price is about £12 or £13 because it is on sale because it's just come out. But I think for that price, I think it's not too bad. I think the amount of time and enjoyment you'll get from this is probably worth it if you're into this sort of game. If you're not into this sort of game and you're just going to give it a go, you possibly won't like it. But if you like building imagination games, that sort of thing, and a bit of platformer involved in that as well, you could have a good time. Things I did not like. Well, earlier I said about the issue with the remote play and me taking an absolute age to work out how I could join my friend in the multiplayer session. Well, the reason was on and this might be a Steam thing, so, I'll hold my hands up to not getting this right in terms of where the blame lies. But if it's the game, then that does need to be addressed. But with the keyboard and mouse, Steam did not recognize it as an input control systems. So until I switch to a controller, only then would it allow both of us play at the same time. Now, the game does specify it prefers the user to play with a controller, but it doesn't say you cannot use a keyboard and mouse. So if this is a fault of the game, not allowing Steam to recognize a keyboard and mouse for one of the players in remote play, that does need to be addressed. Using keyboard and mouse in the game anyway is a bit shitty. I tried it and it's no good at all. It's definitely a controller game. I prefer using a mouse and keyboard, and I think I should be able to use a mouse and a keyboard without it inhibiting my experience. I've played games like this before on the keyboard and mouse and they've been fine. So, it's not impossible to make it enjoyable with a keyboard and mouse, but I was forced to use a controller for most of the duration of me playing this, and from that point, it was okay. But it's just an observation. Although I really did like the vehicle designing and the item designing and structure designing, I think there could have been a little bit more help, certainly from my point of view, because I'm not that creative, should we say, when it comes to designing things, and I could have done with a little bit more help. I would like to have known potentially how best to use things at the beginning. When you build your first couple of items, it tells you where to put things on the drawing board, so to speak, which is fine, but it doesn't necessarily explains why, because quite often as you go through, you have to connect engines to wheels and wheels back to the engine and then the engine to the driving seat. It never really explains much of the hows and whys, so you're left just to poke around a bit, which is fine. You can find your own way, and I did for the most part. But what actually stopped me playing this in the end was I got to a puzzle where I needed to design something, and the game gave you the start of a blueprint. I accidentally deleted that blueprint, and I couldn't get it back, and I had no idea what it was. So I was just unable to proceed. I couldn't just go back to the last checkpoint. I wasn't able to restore the default blueprint, so I had no idea what it wanted me to do or had any ideas of my own. So after sort of messing around maybe for half an hour trying to figure it out, I gave up and thought, well, that's me done here. I've given it a good couple of hours to 3 hours playing time. But it was enough. I got onto the second planet because, of course, this is all planetary. The scenery changes a bit, the colour schemes change a bit, but ultimately it's the same thing over and over again, but on different planets. I'll probably end up giving this some sort of media core rating because, on the one hand, I did have fun playing it, but on the other hand, I got bored playing it after 2 to 3 hours, and also the bit where I got stuck really peed me off. So it's not going to get an amazing review from me in terms of a score, but it's not a terrible game either, so it's going to get a media core rating here. But as I said earlier, if this is your sort of thing, for the price, possibly worth it. Steer clear if platformers generally aren't your thing, because this one's not going to win you round.